Well, hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the webinar today. Um, this is How to Succeed on Social Media, hosted by Becker Digital. Today, we're going to discuss a few actionable ways that mission-driven organizations can succeed, specifically on social media. So just kind of the overview of the highlights. We're first going to start off with the evolution of social media in our society and really tease out, the role that it has and what that means for us as organizational leaders. We're also going to talk about which social media platforms are best for your organization based on, its unique audience, its unique mission, and really identifying the platforms that will kind of best elevate that. We're also going to discuss social media myths that have the potential to hold your organization back online. And we're going to discuss fostering community relationships through social media. So kind of giving you some insight into how you can cultivate those brand client relationships online. And then also helping you identify an effective social media strategy for your organization. So, social media is kind of like a moving target because it's something that's always changing. There's always a new app, always a new trend, new features that are being offered that kind of are always creating a buzz in marketing. Really, the only thing certain about social media is that it's going to change. So staying on top of all those changes, it can really be a challenge for busy organizational leaders. It's a lot to keep up with. Social media has, as I'm sure you all are very well aware, an immense influence on our global society. People are using social media for everything. They use it for entertainment, communicating with friends and family, researching new brands, finding jobs, archiving their life. Everything is on social media. To give you just kind of a little more insight into just how much social media has permeated our society. American social media users in 2018, so 3 years ago, were spending an average of 16 minutes every waking hour on social media. That totals out to about 5 years of someone's life being spent looking on social media apps. And due to the COVID-19 pandemic, we've actually seen increases in social media usage. As we all social distance, social media has for many become kind of a lifeline to their community, to their support system. Organizations have the opportunity to use social media to support their mission, build connections, or social media, when it's used ineffectively, can be used to destroy organizations' reputations and really diminish their impact. So hopefully today we'll give you guys some real actionable strategies that you can use to ensure that your organization's social media has a positive impact. So before we dive into the content, I just wanted to give you guys a quick intro, who I am, a little bit about the company, and then we'll jump right back into the social media topic. So, quick intro: Becker Digital is located in the Blue Ridge Mountains of Virginia. You can see the photos. It's beautiful. If you want, mountain pictures, be sure to follow us on Instagram. We are a CVE verified, service disabled, veteran owned small business. Our CEO, Jeremy Becker, is an Operation Enduring Freedom veteran and a retired U.S. Army officer. We provide marketing and public relations services to corporations, government agencies, and nonprofit organizations. And if you visit our website, We've got a ton of free resources. So webinars like this one, blog posts that are kind of technical on using social media. And we've also got a podcast that should roll out in a few weeks that we're really excited about. So our capabilities, marketing and PR, but social media is really one of the specialties that we've prioritized over the past few years. Just because as the digital age has evolved, every aspect of marketing and PR has some kind of overlap with social media. So that's kind of something that we've really prioritized and are excited to kind of share a little bit of our insight with you guys today. My background, I have a bachelor's from Mississippi State, a graduate certificate in nonprofit leadership from American Public University, and an MBA from Florida Tech. I worked in academia for a while and joined Becker Digital in 2015. So that's been 6 years. And really enjoy working with clients. It is a career path that every day is something new. Every client is unique, and so that's been really exciting. If you have any questions about stuff that goes on or content we cover in the webinar or just social media in general, feel free to shoot me an email at beckerdigital.com. I'm also on LinkedIn and would be happy to connect there. Our social media content. So social media is constantly evolving. It used to be a teenage thing. Back in the day, you had to have a .edu address, so enrolled in a higher education or high school institution, an educational institution, to even open a Facebook account. And now everybody's on it. Over 70%, it's almost 80% of American adults are currently active on at least one social media platform. But as you guys know, it certainly wasn't always that way. In terms of the digital age, social media is relatively new. It's just been really over the past 10 to 15 years that social media has even been an option. And then really the past 5 years, it has just taken, the internet by storm. The having social media really changed how we connected, how we communicated with each other. And honestly, it really changed how we use the internet. And social media came on the scene, kind of marks this really interesting time in internet development that's known as the Web 2.0. And basically, social media, it transformed the internet from a place to just get information, kind of like a digitized, encyclopedia, to a place that we have two-way, real-time conversations. And so that was really revolutionary. Now social media, it's a 24/7 active online community. It never sleeps, as anyone that's ever attempted to manage an organization's social media accounts can attest to. Thanks to social media, our society has really changed expectations as far as communication, information availability, and even what defines a relationship or how consumers relate to organizations. To kind of give you an idea or a better idea, as far as how social media stacks up with basically its attention competitors, TV, the internet, listening to music, playing video games. Here's a really interesting graphic. You can see here that social media on average in 2020 from users age 16 to 64, they were spending an average of 2 hours and 29 minutes a day on social media. So that's still behind watching television, but it's not far behind watching television. This kind of gives you a nice society as a whole. So social media apps, they're constantly changing with consumer trends. You can probably think back to the first social media account that you started when you started using social media. My first one was Facebook. It was super archaic in terms of what we have today. And I just remember posting lots of photos of my dog, and I would have to take, this photo with a digital camera and then upload it onto my, personal computer, because that was back before we even had the Facebook app. And now, Facebook is available at our fingertips along with tons of other social media apps. So Facebook provides this like awesome example of how the social media apps have changed as far as the user base over time. So historically, Facebook was the preferred social media app for the under 30 crowd. Things have changed. Gen Zers, so the generation that's younger than millennials. So this would be like your 22-year-olds and younger around. They're ditching Facebook for apps like Snapchat, Instagram, YouTube, TikTok. And then the fastest growing segment of Facebook users are defined of 65. So I thought that was really interesting, because just, 5-6 years ago, the majority or the fastest Facebook users were people that were under 30, and now it's people that are over 65. So that kind of gives us an of how face can change with time. And we'll talk about, what that means for your organization a little later on in the webinar. So social media is always changing, but the pandemic itself did cause a few more changes, specifically that social media apps saw increases in both usage and user engagement, because for so many people, that were social distancing, this is how they communicated with their community. Social media is becoming an increasingly important aspect of both community relations, like as government agencies get on social media, and organizational operations. So social media can broadcast information. It can provide convenient connection features like video chatting, messaging. It can also provide direct access from an organizational standpoint. Users can use the organization's social media account for customer service. And then people crave community connections, and social media offers that at their fingertips in forms of groups, following different branded accounts, and and influencers and individuals. So I wanted to talk a little bit on what is social media success. So what would we consider, social media success as we think about, our organizations? What I consider social media success is using social media to build and enrich communities. So a community building social media strategy is going to engage users through conversation and quality content that the users find valuable. It's also going to foster community relationships. So this is with other organizations in the community, other organizations in the same industry, and also users that they're serving, so their target audience. And a community building a successful social media strategy is going to improve the organization's reputation. So it's going to just continue to build up the brand. All too often, we see organizations falling into the other two types of social media strategies that you see on the screen here. The first one being information broadcasting. And this is just, honestly, this is just like an old school approach that does not cut it in our digital age. And that is organizations that just use their social media to, post info. So they're just putting up links to stuff about them. And this, while it does get the word out about the organization, it's like only half, it's really only realizing like half of the potential that social media really has, because it's not building relationships. It doesn't engage users. And then the second type of like ineffective, or what I would deem an unsuccessful social media strategy, is something that's just inconsistent and inactive. So there's no consistency in the organization's like content, their tone, their posting schedule. Sometimes the accounts aren't manned, they're not being managed. So if someone leaves a bad review or put something up about them that isn't flattering, this could damage the organization's reputation. They're not leveraging social media to really manage the customer service part of their organization. And this is super limited, as you can imagine, in kind of like maximizing social media's potential, because if you're posting inconsistently, or it's just so random, your users aren't going to automatically think of your organization when they're thinking of like your services, because it's not building up the brand. Those connections aren't being made. Kind of key social media strategy elements. The first one is that your social media is aligned with your organizational goals. So whatever you're putting online on your media accounts, what the organization is, not kind of like its own thing, if that makes sense. And like to give you an example of this would be like an organization that's kind of stuffy, I guess, just like very rigid and traditional online and in person. And then on social media, they try to be like super hip and trendy. And it's just like this big disconnect, right? So it just doesn't line out. Second key element is that the social media strategy is developed with the organization's target audience in mind. So this is not the social media manager. This isn't them just posting what they like. A successful social media strategy will focus on the target audience, which the organization should identify through market research. So they should know who their target audience is, what they're wanting to see, what their online behaviors are, what they're utilizing the organization for, the competitors that they're shopping around with. This should all be developed before you develop or that research should all be done before you sit down to develop a social media strategy. And third element is that the social media content encourages community engagement. So this is, all your interactive features, your likes, your retweets, your shares, your comments. We really want the community to be engaged, but also that it encourages community engagement offline. So participating in events, participating in social media campaigns or causes or fundraisers. And then our fourth key element is that all content provides value to the social media user. So it needs to enrich their lives, not just provide information, meet them where they are. The is it social media ships that are both online and offline, depending on your organization. This your social media accounts and there's a technical subject and it kind of goes beyond what we're going to cover today in detail, but we do have information on that over on our blog and in some previous webinars that you can get at beckerdigital.com. Okay. So a little bit about social media platforms, because I know one of the most frequently asked questions for us is organizations want to know which social media platform do they need to be on, because there's a lot of them and you're not really sure. You may see a competitor doing a lot on, I don't know, Twitter, and then another competitor doing a lot on YouTube, and organizations want to know which being on social media. So here's just kind of insight into my thought process when I'm sitting down. Hopefully you can, what apps are they on? How are they using social media? Having that insight can really help you plan your social media strategy, because you don't want to spend all this time posting on a social media channel that your target market's not even on. So for example, if you were just you're an organization that's a long-term care after like senior citizens, as far as your target market, they're flocking to Facebook right now. So that would be a really good social media channel for you to prioritize. TikTok, which is the 20 and under crowd in mass, is not going to be, high on your priority list. So you're going to want to, review current social media platform user demographics, and this can kind of help you determine which social media platforms are best. So here's just an example, or here's just some data on teenagers in the United States, which platforms they were using and how it's changed over the past 5 years. So you can see here, back in the spring of 2015, 21% were on Twitter. And then you can see as the years go, it drops. There's like a few little waves in here, but now we're down to 3% by the fall of 2020 are on Twitter. So if you have an organization and you're wanting to go after teenagers, or teenagers are your target market, you're not going to want to spend any time on Twitter. But these apps, Snapchat, TikTok, Instagram, they need to be high on your priority list. You're also going to want to evaluate available social media app features. And what I mean by this is to put content on a social media app like YouTube, you have to have a video, right? You're not going to post like a text on YouTube, because that's not how YouTube is designed. That's not a feature that they have outside of like comments. And so you're going to need the capabilities, if you want to be on YouTube, to develop, really good videos. If that is kind of outside your scope, you're going to want to look at at apps that are more text-based. So that would be things that are like Twitter, even Facebook to some degree, definitely LinkedIn. And so that can help you kind of narrow it down when you think about each social media app's features, and then how you ask yourself, how could you, or what would it take for you to create really good content for that app? You're also going to want to assess the content creation investment, for each potential platform, which is just kind of like what we talked about. So Instagram is extremely graphics and imagery based, right? So you get on Instagram for pretty pictures. You don't really get on Instagram for great captions, even though that a good Instagram post will have a pretty picture and a great caption. But if you're not, a lot of great photos, and you get on each social media app will help you narrow down your list of what's the best social media platforms for your organization to be on. And then finally, I always encourage clients, it depends on the resources available in terms of manpower, how many staff members you have that are or how many, resource could you hire, a marketing agency like Becker Digital to run multiple social media channels for you. If it is something that you're restricted on resources and you're going to be doing it in-house in your own organization, I would encourage you to identify the top 3 social media platforms based on the users, how they align content. So which features, you can Instagram, Snapchat, YouTube, LinkedIn, you're going to be overwhelmed and you're not going to do any of them very sources, just really app would be the best for you. I know we have a lot of the user demographics and whatnot over there, so you can kind of explore apps what you. So now we're going to dive into social media myths. So we don't want social media myths popular to hold your organization back online. So social media myths are they're kind of a dime a dozen. People are always coming out with this stuff. They're like, I have the secret to social media. You have to post on Facebook 3 times a day. Or they'll be like, the secret to social media, don't post on Facebook every day. Or don't post at all. I wanted to touch on, or encourage you to not get lost here on inaccurate. Because I think that can really, so I wanted to talk about 3 of the top I hear that just drive me crazy because they really hold organizations back. But you'll but I want you to kind of approach social media along the myth that it's all about what you post. So what you post matters on social media, definitely, but that's not like, it's something that's kind of skewed as far as the attention that gets versus the other aspects of social media management where these relationships have the potential to be built. So social media was originally just a publishing platform. So me on Facebook, 15 years ago, posting pictures of my dog, that was what, social media used to be. However, social media offers so many more capabilities now than just broadcasting information. So I think that's this myth that it is all and only about what you post. I think social media and is just honestly outdated for today. So social media has many features. Provide the opportunity to have engaging conversations, to cultivate relationships. And these engaging conversations and these long-term relationships, they're the two big keys for social media between an organization and a follower, in the comment section and the messages, that goes so much farther in building your brand's social rapport than just posting another meme. We really want to connect. We want to be effective online. We want to connect with our followers through comments, through messages. And this two-way conversation is one way that brand loyalty is built with modern consumers that are online. So our second myth that to go over account for their organization, they will just amass all these followers. And that's not how social media works either. So growing a following, it takes more than just, having an account. So, we want to consistently publish and post on our social media channels, but that may not be enough to yield these optimal returns as far as building a following base. We want to make sure that our brand has a multi-pronged community development strategy for all social media platforms that they're on. So don't just start a social media channel and then forget about it. You want to have a strategy before you even launch that channel. You want to be able to maintain it and to put enriching content on there and to engage with followers. So just being visible on an app is no longer enough. I mean, it was 10 years ago, and this isn't 2011 anymore. So, things have changed. Everyone's online. It's a very competitive space. It's heavily monetized now, which is different than what it was a decade ago. So to really stand out and to grow your following, you need to provide regular, engaging content that draws social media users in and that prompts action through interactive opportunities. So this would be things like virtual events, hashtag challenges, comments, all of that stuff that just engages people. So our third myth is that going viral is the goal. And this is just false. So going viral, it sometimes, I guess, can sort of be great, but it's not great when you go viral for something stupid, when you go viral for something that damages your organization's brand, or when you go viral when something that you put online goes viral, but you don't have the marketing infrastructure, you don't have the employees or an agency on board to manage all of that engagement coming in. So when that happens, you're really missing out on a good opportunity. And things that go viral, content that goes viral, it goes viral one day, and 2 hours later, people are talking about something else. So it's not sustainable. And what I hope, if you take nothing else away from this webinar, is that, when we talk about success in social media, we're not talking about one post that gets 2,000 likes. We're talking about sustainable success online that builds relationships with the target market, target audience, that enhances the organization's brand and reputation, and kind of plants these seeds that, will grow into something worthwhile over the course of, time, and really set the organization up, for the future, for a successful future. So, going viral, is kind of random, outside of organizations whose massive budget or even their ethical creed allows for, incredibly advanced analytics and expert consumer psychology consultation. Most organizations are just unable to predict post virility with much accuracy. So it's hard to tell what's really going to go viral, what's not. And there's so many factors that play into that are external, that organizations can't control. So a few examples of this are things like current events, the political scene, political news, competing content, because it's not just how cool your content is that determines whether or not it goes viral. It depends on what's going on in the world. It depends on what else is taking space at that moment on those social media apps. So, I've even seen weather influence what does go viral and what doesn't go viral. So it's kind of like a target that's so far out there. Most organizations don't need to spend a lot of time trying to make their stuff go viral. They need to just try to be successful and build relationships online. So while having, a post go viral could be positive, viral content, it often snowballs at an incredibly fast and uncontrollable rate, which can result in an avalanche of unproductive and negative interaction if you're not careful. So consistent engagement on an organization's social media platform will probably be much more fruitful in the long run for your organization. So, social media myths, they can be really misleading. When you're developing your organization's social media strategy, I think it's just important to consider, the validity of information sources that you're evaluating, and make sure that your campaign, your social media strategy is built on, solid intel. Consistent engagement, quality content that adds value and builds brand loyalty is a much more strategic foundation to your social media strategy than the latest social media gimmick. So I'm just going to talk a little bit more about social media success, specifically creating and fostering, building these community relationships through social media. So we all crave connection, which I know this is something that most of us are acutely aware of after nearly a year of social distancing. We need connection with other people. Social interactions enrich our lives and can even improve our health. Social media, it can be this awesome way for users and organizations to build connections. But on the flip side of that is it can also be a great way for organizations to, damage their brand and to, destroy connections. So you've probably seen this happen online, or even experienced it yourself, where someone posts online backfires on them or just reveals them to be, I don't know, like basically just a not nice person, or, and the same thing can happen with organizations that, really don't have a strategy behind their social media presence. So organizations and organizational leaders, they really have, an opportunity to, use social media to build up these connections. So when we're thinking about building connections online, we want to really know our community. We want to know what they're going through. We don't want to be tone deaf. We want to stay up to date on current events. We want to engage consistently. We want to engage positively. We want it to be, a place of goodness, a place of inspiration, a place that offers value and is safe and welcoming. And we need to remember, with all of our social media interactions, as we represent the organizations that we do, that there's a human on the other side of social media. When we're thinking about a successful social media strategy, we need to recognize that, just getting a bunch of clicks, while that makes our analytics look really good, we're really after building long-term connections with our target audience, with our community. And those connections are usually not developed from viral posts. They're usually developed from quality content, positive engagement, and a well-implemented, well-researched strategy that really understands the target market, what they're going through, what they're looking for when they get on their social media app. So we want to prepare to succeed, which starts with having a well-researched social media strategy. And this strategy includes which apps we should be on. It includes what we're going to be posting on those apps. It includes how we're going to engage with our followers online. And then also how we're going to stay up to date, because social media is always changing. They're always adding new features. There's always changes in consumer trends. And we want to kind of stay apprised of these changes and not get left out in the dark. Market research, when it comes to social media, is your friend. You don't have to pay for this necessarily. You can outsource to an agency like Becker Digital to, perform market research specific to your organization, or you can, take time and, research your target market. A strategy, even like the most up-to-date digital strategy that isn't based in market research, is going to lead you astray. So we want to make sure that what we're going to be doing online aligns with our market research related to our target market. And then also we want to consistently evaluate our social media strategy. So whether this is every month or every quarter, we're looking at what we're doing online as an organization, and we're asking ourselves, is it effective? Is it meeting our goals? What can we do better to kind of stay on top of just all those changes? So here's kind of a very abbreviated successful social media strategy checklist. So most of this we've already discussed, so this will be familiar to you guys. But we want a social media strategy that aligns with the organization's short and long-term goals. We want it to be developed with the organization's target audience in mind and based on market research, not just stuff that we think will work online. So actual market research. We want our strategy to consist of engaging digital content that encourages conversation. Remember that two-way strategy, and drives user action both on and offline. We need our content to provide immediate value to social media users in the form of education, entertainment, inspiration, connection. And we want to prioritize meaningful content that fosters community and long-term relationships with the organization's target audience. And then finally, a successful social media strategy is going to include a routine assessment of social media performance and responsive strategy revision. So it's very organization specific as far as the time they can dedicate to evaluating their social media strategy, but I recommend at minimum doing so quarterly. I think it's better if you could do it, once a month to kind of see what's going on. And that can be a great opportunity to bring in, team members from a variety of different departments. If you're a nonprofit, it can be an awesome way to engage your board members and get their input on that. And really, continue to modify the social media strategy that you have set. So just kind of a quick recap, social media, it's always changing. It's always going to change. I know that can feel overwhelming at times, but it'll be okay. You just need to, kind of stay on top of the important information. The one thing that doesn't change about social media is that people are getting on there to build connections. And for organizations that can foster relationships online through, engagement, engaging with their users, enriching their lives, these social media changes in the form of features and trends, they're not going to derail a strategy that's built on long-term connections. Social media, it's not going away. So it's only increasing in importance in our society, and the usage rates just continue to climb. There is no one size fits all approach to social media success. Every strategy, every effective social media strategy that's created is specific to the organization and their audience. I've been creating social media strategies for almost a decade for organizations, and I have never had two that were organization and the audience of the tab. And the blog has a ton of content specific to social media. So really in-depth information on the different apps, different strategies that you can use if you're struggling with finding or figuring out what to post online. It's got a ton of helpful stuff on that. You can also subscribe to our newsletter. We send out a monthly newsletter with links to new blog posts, webinars. This can be a great way to just kind of keep up to date with the need to know social media trends and changes. And then also webinars. We do these seasonally. So we have one every month, I think, for the next 3 months scheduled, and then we'll pick that back up in the fall. But we try to do spring and fall webinar series because I know it is just a lot to keep up with in the whole digital marketing space. So if you're looking for, all these resources are free. And if you're looking for that kind of source, I would recommend that you sign up for the newsletter so you can just kind of get monthly updates on, here's the down and dirty on what you need to know about social media today. So our upcoming webinars in April, we have one on marketing to multi-generational audiences. So this is if your organization, provides services to a wide audience that includes baby boomers, Gen Xers, millennials, and or Gen Zers, that could be interesting. It will include a fair amount of social media, kind of insights within that webinar. And then in May, we have a webinar coming up on connecting with the veteran community online. So we really wanted to provide organizations. This one's really geared towards government agencies and nonprofit organizations that have some type of support or would like to support, our veteran community. We'll be giving you some more insights into the veteran community, the modern veteran community, and how organizations can improve their support of and build connections with online. Oops. So it's kind of all that we have today. I do have our contact information up here. If we can be of any help to you in your future endeavors, feel free to give us a call or send us an email. Again, that beckerdigital.com address is our website where you can find all those free resources um, for all things marketing and PR, but we've got a lot of social media. And then we're pretty active online, given our line of work. So we've got active accounts on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, LinkedIn, Pinterest, and YouTube. So feel free to connect with us there. And if you have any questions about the content today, feel free to reach out. Like I said, you can email me or email us, and also connect with us on LinkedIn. So I really appreciate you joining us today, and I hope you found it beneficial.